Greetings, my friends, and my enemies. How's it going, guys? Special video today, in a sense. The first non-fiction review of the channel. The first non-fiction review of the channel. It's no secret. I've made no secret on this channel that my day job is a personal trainer. I'm really into fitness. Fitness is a big part of my life. I have some very specific fitness goals that will be put on the second channel when I hit them, and minor little bits of documentation of my fitness journey are going to be uploaded there as well. So it shouldn't be any surprise that I do fitness-related reading sometimes. Most of it comes in the form of scientific literature, studies, articles, that kind of stuff. But every now and then you just got to pick up a damn book, right? And something that I've struggled with for a long time now is breath. I've noticed that I get out of breath easier than I think I should. I've noticed that breathing difficulties that didn't seem normal to me. And I says to myself, there's gotta be something that I can do about this. I can't just be deteriorating with age this soon in my life. You know what I mean? There has to be some kind of explanation. Maybe there's some kind of a deeper level to this beyond just breathing as my body tells me to. And so I started reading into the science of breathing, and that is how I found James Nestor. James Nestor, I actually found him through Joe Rogan's podcast. It came up in my YouTube recommended, and I watched the podcast, and after watching the podcast of the Joe Rogan episode with James Nestor, I went and bought James Nestor's book, Breathe. So, thumbnail shot. Thumbnail shot. Thumbnail shot. Thumbnail shot. No, but I went and bought his book. And let me tell you, I'm glad I did. There is so much interesting information in here, and the science that goes into it, and it's all just so amazing. It almost defies belief, except there's like a good chunk of this book. Hang on here, just 1 second. That much of this book is studies. His citations. This guy's a journalist. He's a professional. He didn't just write a book and make a bunch of absurd claims about breath. All of this is citations of scientific research, peer-reviewed studies, case studies, all that good stuff. So the information in this book is legit. So with that being said, let's dive into it really quick, give a little bit of information about the book, some of the awesome stuff he talks about, and we're going to use my normal book reviewing system because frankly it's applicable even to a nonfiction, and it's gonna be favorable. Just spoiler alert, I'm really happy that I read this. So my review system can be summarized with the acronym COMP. So I came up with this criteria system to really hone in on what I look for in a book, what matters to me, how I analyze things, and like I said, it really does apply to this book because he tells the story in narrative fashion. He doesn't just talk about these things like someone giving you a lecture. The story is written in narrative form, documenting his journey from one life-changing experience at a breathing class in California to a journey that took him literally all over the world. James Nestor has flown to Europe, to South America, and beyond to conduct this pilgrimage into breath. And he has studied ancient breathing techniques, he has been in modern labs, and he has discovered some truly amazing things. People that could cure themselves of disease with breathing, people that could straighten their spines with breathing, people that could control their heart rate to such an extreme that they could make it look like they were dead, people who can release DMT, and more famous examples like Wim Hof, who use their breath to perform superhuman feats of endurance. So all of this is done through breath control, and he actually has a section in the back of this book right in front of the citations talking about the different breathing techniques, and the whole thing is extremely fascinating. So, to give a really quick summary of the narrative, the book starts with his breathing class in San Francisco. I think it was San Francisco. And this profound experience he has after he takes this breathing class. And it follows him on this journey where he goes to all these places across the world and does all this research. And there's a chapter in the book for every single one of the major things he learned about breathing. Breathing through the nose is a big, meaty chunk of the book. It's huge. Breathing through the nose is so much better for you than breathing through the mouth. It's like the difference between only eating McDonald's and home cooking all your meals. Okay, it really is a huge difference. Then there's another section on proper exhalation habits. There's a section on proper inhalation habits. There's a whole lot of information about meditative breathing. And then he goes into more extreme breathing techniques like Buteyko breathing, Tumo breathing, and all these kind of extreme breathing methods that really start to allow humans to hack our physiology, release DMT, gain control of our automatic nervous system. All of that stuff is covered in here. A section that I did not think would be in such a book, or at least I wouldn't have thought would be in such a book had I not seen the podcast first, is he talks a lot about dentistry and orthodontics and how our breathing actually affects the shape of our face and our jaw structure. It's very, very amazing. There's actually a whole section here on chewing too, because of the way our jaw development in our youth affects our nasal passages. So, it's a very, very interesting book. I cannot recommend it enough. So, really quick, in reverse order, we're just going to zip through my categories. Now that I've given you kind of a brief rundown on the book and the narrative, we're just going to really quickly go into each category, and I'm going to wrap this up. And I do my categories in reverse. And just so there's no confusion, yes, I list the categories in reverse order from the acronym, just because to me, that's kind of how it makes sense in my head. So just, yeah. So first, the prose. Very well written. James Nestor has a pretty damn good command of language. There's a few places in here where there was an odd usage or a sentence was a little bit awkward, but by and large, it was very well communicated. The punctuation, grammar, syntax, all of that stuff was pretty damn good. Like I said, only a few places where I was like, yeah, that's a little, eh. So, I'm going to give him a 95 on prose. Plot. His pilgrimage of learning about the science and art of breath was a very interesting pilgrimage, in my opinion. This is a guy who had a question and he wanted the answers so bad that he traveled across the globe and exhausted every possible sub-route that question could take. He pursued this doggedly and intelligently. It made for a very good story. The plot of the book, the narrative is absolutely great. I really enjoyed it. Even if you weren't really interested in the science of breathing, just the adventures this guy went on, it makes for a pretty good read. So, 100% on the plot. Message and symbolism. No real symbolism because he speaks in very direct, plain language, but the message is great. He wrote this book to try to help people, and I think every single person alive would probably benefit from reading it, with sole exception being people who know more about the science of breath than him. Those are the only people who I think wouldn't benefit from reading this book. If you have asthma, if you have any kind of breathing difficulty, if you're prone to sinus infections, if you have crooked teeth, if you have sleep apnea, any kind of breathing problem, go buy this book. It could literally change your life. I mean that. So, obviously, a 100% on the message. I think he wrote this book to help people. That's what he said in his interview with Joe Rogan. And I believe he's sincere because he gives out resources for free. And he really makes it clear that he's trying to help people. So, 100% on message. Now, the only category in my typical review system that's kind of like, does it really apply to this book would be originality. But on the other hand, I feel like I do want to give him 100% in originality, because he had this idea to write a book about something that everyone takes for granted. And that's not an idea that a lot of people would have and actually have the gumption to follow through on. They would second guess themselves, like, oh no, that's stupid, everyone knows how to breathe. But he said no, obviously they don't, because breathing classes are a thing. And so he had an idea, a fairly original idea, to write a case study in something that everyone knows about but no one knows how to do right, and he did a damn good job of it. So I'm going to say 100% on originality. And then characters, it's a non-fiction. So really, he didn't have to create any original characters. He just had to describe the characters well, and every character in the book feels distinct. He doesn't describe people in bland language or unclear language. Everyone has a very distinct personality. Everyone is very alive on the page. So characters, 100%. So, to wrap this thing up in an eggshell... What? To wrap this thing up, I recommend you read the book. It's Breathe by James Nestor. If you have any kind of health problem related to breath, or even some problems that aren't related to breath, at least on the surface, like anxiety, depression, things like that, because your breathing and some of those mental illnesses come from the same part of your brain, they're wired to the same centers, your breath can be tremendously effective in treating those things. I highly recommend you check this book out. You might be surprised at how much useful information is in here for everyone. It could really change your life. I can tell you on a personal note, if my dad had read it, he'd still be alive. So, read it. Alright guys, that's it for that review. There will be more nonfiction reviews in the future, so if you really liked this, let me know in the comments. Tell me something that's nonfiction that you think I might benefit from reading, or that you might like my opinion on. I'd be happy to add it to my reading list. In the meantime, do me a favor and fucking subscribe. And like and comment and do all the YouTube things. As you know, you can go buy my debut novel, The Garden of Lies, available pretty much wherever books are sold. The sequel is coming out this Halloween. I'm also going to start writing short stories that exist within that same storytelling universe. So I'll keep y'all updated on that. Those are probably going to be going up on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah. So guys, until next time, be well, be kind, be strong.